you is a battlefield. Here, thousands of men are waging war. Every second of every hour of every day of every night. They wear no military uniforms. On their shoulders are no emblems of high rank. They seldom are awarded medals, but they are fighting our fight. Without them, we cannot win. These men are building ships. These are their weapons of war: the drill, the rivet, and the blowtorch, and that giant crane swinging high out over the yards, and paint to protect the metal from the sea, the automatic welder and the welding torch. The ships they are building will be the largest merchant fleet to ever sail the seven seas. Victory ships. Somewhere along the coastlines of this nation, a victory ship is sliding into the water every day. Tomorrow, 2 ships every day. Next month, 3 ships a day. Then 4, then more. Even as we see this dynamo of activity before us, a ship is born. In a few minutes now, she'll slide down the ways, wetting her hull to the cool strength of the sea. Yes, these men are giving birth to ships, and their labor is the pain of pushing muscle and sinew and brain until the ship becomes a living thing. Have you any idea what a freight-carrying boat looks like in its embryo period? Do you know through what stages it must grow and mature until it's strong and ready for a life of its own and a task nearly insurmountable? Well, there are tens of thousands of parts and fittings, materials and gadgets, nuts and bolts and miles of copper wire, and chains, endless rivers of chains shining like silver, and ventilators and winches and small valves and large valves and pipes, and 30-ton booms, cleats, steel flanges, shroud sockets, cable spools, flange fittings, and anchors that weigh 10 tons, anchors to ride our ships in every port, in every sea. You get the idea. Giving birth to a victory ship is a job for a lot of people who do a lot of work in a hurry, and do it well.
I'll tell you something. Building a ship isn't just done here in the shipyard. A lot of other folks are building the same ship you saw, ready to slide into the water. Folks helped build that ship that never set foot in a rowboat, or saw any water bigger than a mud puddle in their own backyard. See, listen, I'll tell you. It's the miners of America who are building these ships. They don't mine coal anymore. In Pennsylvania and Virginia, they're digging ships. And in West Virginia, Kentucky, Utah, Arizona, Idaho, New Mexico, Wyoming, Arkansas, where they mine bauxite, copper, mercury, manganese, tungsten, lead, gypsum. They're digging ships. Yep. And in some way, every state in the Union is building ships. Main engines come from Pennsylvania, boilers from New York, propeller line shafting from Delaware, propellers from Maryland, bells from Iowa, vents from Georgia, fittings from Kentucky, cargo winches from Minnesota, bleeder plugs from Tennessee, 30-ton booms and steel plate flanges from California, and on down the line. As many states as there are stars in the flag, giving birth to ships.
Yes, and the people, every last one of them in these United States, are building ships. The aluminum pan Mother gave to the Boy Scouts is part of a cowling for a ventilator. The razor blades Dad saved are part of that steel hull. That old bathing cap Sis turned into the neighborhood filling station is part of the insulation on that wire cable. But now, ahead of schedule, this ship is waiting to be launched against the enemy. Let's not delay her launching 1 second more. The men are knocking the blocks from under her.
In the name of truth and justice and freedom.
Even now, the keel of another steel fist that will smash the Axis is being laid. But for our ship, life has begun. Yes, there she sits, her hull now cradled by the sea, her voyage to destiny already begun. She's off the ways, so another ship can be born. Oh, wait, we just thought of something. A ship isn't a living thing until men take hold of her wheel and set her course and turn her rudder this way and that and run her engines. So then, who's going to sail her? Where are the men who fill the arteries of this newborn thing life? Oh, yes, the men who are going to sail her.
Hackett's my name, James Hackett. I'm from Colorado, but I'm going to sea. That doesn't sound funny to you.
Not at all, Mr. Hackett. They haven't any ocean in Colorado, but that isn't important. You ought to make a first-class seaman. Put your mind to it.
Thank you, sir.
Report in the doctor, Mr. Hackett.
Yes, sir. Aye, sir.
Your name?
Robert Meyer,
Where are you from?
Washington, sir.
That emblem you're looking at, Hackett, is the symbol of your new life, your life on the sea. But say, what have we here? Are these our men of the sea? That young fellow doesn't walk with a sailor's roll. A seafaring man? Where's his sea bag? And these others? Why, they look like any young fellows you'd say hello to on Main Street anywhere in America.
You fellas lining up for the doctor?
That's right, Bud. Pull off your shirt and make yourself comfortable.
Yes, Mr. James Hackett. Get in line there while we take a look around. Well, this is the United States Maritime Service Training Station, where healthy young Americans, you can ask the doc, between the ages of 18 and 30, learn what it takes to be an A-1 member of the Merchant Marine. They come here from the plains of Kansas, the rice fields of Louisiana, the factory towns of Michigan, the lumberlands of Oregon, from all over this big, broad, beautiful country of ours. They come here to learn the ways of the sea. And these are the men who are going to sail our ships to the far corners of the world. These are the men who will deliver the goods and keep the engines running and hold the wheel through stormy seas and man the guns if such need be. All those ships we saw building, well, these are the lads who'll see them through till the job is done. Sea bags? Sure. They're soon packed with the gear of a seafaring man. A belt, a brush, handkerchiefs, hats, shirts, shoes, socks, dungarees, a jersey, a jackknife, and a little blue book, the American Merchant Seaman's Manual, their Bible of learning. Now perhaps you're wondering how you can teach a man to become a sailor on dry land. Well, let's go along while James Hackett and classmates learn a new trade, the honorable profession of going to sea.
Attention to today's training schedule. Guard duty to be taken by section number 7. Section number 9, ordnance and small arms. Spend morning in machine guns and afternoon on 3-inch anti-aircraft guns. Section number 4, boats and davits. Section number 8, firefighting equipment. Soda acid and CO2 extinguishers. Section number 11, continuing engineering instruction. That completes the training schedule for today.
Did you get that? A lot of salty talk there. Mooring lines and boat drills and davits and bridge signals. Yes, sir, sounds like a trip to sea. But listen, all of that and more is taught right here in classrooms to save time, which is something that's important now. This is marlin spike seamanship, how to knot and splice rope and wire. Now, maybe you think that tying a bowline sort of lost its importance when the clipper ships grew old at their docks. Not true. Listen.
In the Merchant Marine, a man who can handle rope and wire efficiently is serving his country in the first line of battle. The seaman must know many knots and hitches, such as clove hitch, round turn and 2 half hitches, lark's head, timber hitch, killick hitch, rolling hitch, bowline, slippery clove, clove hitch.
The uniform you will wear when you get your dress blues is the uniform of the United States government. And you represent that government just as surely and definitely as the men in the Navy.
Boats and davits. Sometimes you have to get those lifeboats down in a hurry. These men are learning how before they go to sea. Cooks and bakers' school. It's a job to be well learned, and many a young fellow chooses this sort of work. And it's a trade that will surely be of value when the war is won. Oh, boy, does that look good. Say, where's that hardtack we hear about? gunnery practice. Part of the training of the men of the Merchant Marine of today is to familiarize them with the use of various types of guns.
The demonstration you've just had of tracer control. It's a method of fire control which is very important, used in both night and day.
Yep, when these lads hit the deck, they'll know their way around. But what sort are these young Americans who, during a war waged with submarines and bombs and floating mines, choose to serve their country on the sea? Well, let's look in on James Hackett and a few of his classmates one evening about 6 weeks after they've entered maritime school. These lads have liberty. It means they're going off to visit a picture show or a date or a dance, or maybe to visit with their families. Blow the Man Down. Now that's a good old sea chanty. That song rang through the shrouds of the old clipper ships and kept time with the rattle of anchor chain.
As I was a-walking down Paradise Street, way, hey, blow the man down, a pretty young damsel I chanced for to meet. Give me some time to blow the man down, says she to me, will you stand treat? Way, hey, blow the man down, delighted, says I, for a charmer so sweet. Give me some time to blow.
But James Hackett and the others? Why, they're getting ready to go someplace, too. Listen.
Well, Hackett, you think you're going to get seasick?
Yeah, how about that, Hackett?
Well, if any of you fellows want to lay any bets.
You're liable to find it's a lot rockier on a boat than being back in the Rocky Mountains.
How'd you happen to leave those big old mountains, son?
Even when I was a kid, I used to look at the mountains back home and think of the sea. That may sound kind of funny to you, but sometimes when I'd go on a hike with my pals, we'd go to the top of a big mountain, and I'd look way out to the west. When it gets real blue, just where the farthest range meets the horizon, I'd imagine that was the ocean. You know what? I could darn near smell the ocean. Yes, sir. Getting on that ship tomorrow is going to make up for a lot of years. Just thinking.
As I was a-walking down Paradise Street, way, hey, blow the man down, a pretty young damsel I chanced for to meet. Give me some time to blow the man down.
Seems that Mr. James Hackett and friends are going someplace on a ship. Ah, you're thinking about that other ship, the one we left at the dock, the one the whole nation built. Well, we'll catch up with her later on. Meantime, James Hackett and a couple of hundred other maritime trainees are boarding this ship, the American Sailor. Here they'll finish their schooling in what every young merchant seaman should know. And on this ship, they'll put into practice the classroom study they've undertaken in the last 6 weeks. So this is their training ship, so aptly named. And there goes the gangplank.
Let go the headlines, pull the spring.
Meet the captain, Commander A.C. Richmond, who's both captain of the American Sailor and superintendent of the Maritime School. And now the American Sailor is pointed to far horizon, and there's a promise of busy but happy hours ahead. A new day as the bosun's whistle sounds morning colors.
Section, left, face. Black section, pull out.
As I was a-walking down Paradise Street, way, hey, blow the man down, a pretty young damsel I chanced for to meet. Give me some time to blow the man down.
Scrub away, hearties. It's got to be done. And where there's a will and a sea-going chanty, the decks are soon bright as the captain's buttons.
So sweet. Give me some time to blow the man down. Oh, blow the man down, laddies, blow the man down.
Uh-oh, here's a lad who shirked his scrubbing. At least he didn't move fast enough for the other fellows, and this is his punishment. Some fun, huh? And once again, our young seamen are on their way to their classrooms. Classrooms in every part of the ship. On the quarterdeck and the bow, stem to stern, and port to starboard. From the crow's nest to the farthermost corner of the engine room. Indeed, each working part of the ship must be studied. Her engines, her booms for cargo, her hatches, fore and aft, the mooring lines now coiled neatly on deck, the bridge with its compasses, its wheels, every space within the ship where wheels are turning or pistons sliding, or signals given, or orders spoken, or eyes watching keenly along the barrel of an anti-aircraft gun. All of these places, and all of these things, and all of these workings must be understood. Join this group, if you will, at cargo boom number 2. Listen.
Lead the topping lift back to the cleat on the tabernacle here, then, and make it fast, with 2.5 round turns and 3 full figure-8 turns.
Did you get that? Well, perhaps not. But these lads did. They're learning how to handle a boom so they may load a cargo in the hold of a ship. We recognize this chap, and he, too, is serving his apprenticeship aboard the American Sailor. The salt sea air puts a kick in your appetite, and these young men stow it away, believe you me. What's up? That long, steady blast on the ship's whistle. It means danger. It means take to the lifeboats, abandon ship. This is what happens when all hope of saving the vessel is gone. But how smartly they lower the lifeboats into the water. Now that's a record. In little more than a few seconds, they're clear of the ship, pulling away Bristol fashion. And the oars in the hands of these young huskies bite firmly into the weight of the salt sea water. In case you're wondering, that dummy is used for man-overboard drills aboard the American Sailor. How do you like that? All that trouble to get him out of the water. What the heck, fellas? Throw him back in. And the men row back to the ship as the signal flags are run up on their halyards, and we're underway again. We're standing on the bridge now, and it's what you might call a sacred place. This is the captain's own domain. That's him right there.
Go ahead.
Head full, sir.
From this vantage point, he directs every movement of his ship.
These young merchant seamen who come to the maritime school, I watch them finish their classes ashore and then aboard this ship, some of them going to sea for the first time. I marvel at how quickly they understand. I admire their alertness and the way they take hold of their new jobs. And I know that they're going to make good on the big job ahead. For these lads are going to sail the ships of our merchant marine over 3/4 of the Earth's surface. They're going to sea to win a war. But when it's over, they'll be the men, and many of them the officers, of the greatest merchant marine our nation and the world has ever known.
But to build that merchant marine takes work, hard work and long hours. And that sign above the shipyards means what it says. There's no speed limit to work. So we're back where we started, where the men on the docks are working to turn out victory ships in a shorter and shorter time. And there is the ship we left waiting at the dock. And here are the men who are going to sail her.
Bill Nugent, sir.
Lieutenant Cumbers.
Leon Craig, sir.
Joe Taft, sir.
Just as this victory ship was built by people in every state, in every city, town, countryside, so these lads come from every section of the country.
James Hackett, sir.
Hackett from Colorado, Halloway, Texas, Rosinski, the Bronx. Johnson, that would be Minnesota. Yes, it's just the same as a flag flying at the quarterdeck. A star and a lad from every state in the Union. If you don't mind, James Hackett, we'd like to stick around these last few minutes to inspect your cargo. Uh-huh. Aeroplanes, and still more aeroplanes, and munitions to arm them with. This is the cargo that fills the ships that sail from every port in the Union. Ships bound across the Pacific, the Atlantic, or down the coast to our neighbors in the South. wherever the armies of the United Nations are fighting for freedom and for liberty. The cargo that will help us win. Implements of war they are today, but tomorrow, implements of peace. And a tribute to you, who, in the traditions of gallant American seamen of the past, are rebuilding the glory of our once great merchant marine. Fair sailing always, and guard your precious cargoes well. Yours is a proud and noble heritage. Young men of the merchant marine, the United Nations sails with you till victory.